My name is Ethan. There are mornings when I wake up and, for a fleeting moment before full consciousness takes hold, I feel a sense of normalcy. In that brief, misty space between sleep and awareness, I am just a man in his bed, in his quiet house. Then, the weight of my reality settles in, a familiar, heavy blanket. I am a ghost haunting the shell of a person I used to be, a spectator watching my own life unfold from a great, unbridgeable distance. The past feels like a movie I watched about someone else, a vibrant, sun-drenched film in stark contrast to the grayscale existence I currently navigate. I used to be a man who felt things deeply, a man who believed in the grand, sweeping power of love. Love was the bedrock of my world, the central organizing principle, the force that gave everything else its meaning and color. Now, that foundation has crumbled to dust, and I spend my days just drifting on the rubble, trying not to look down into the abyss where it used to be. It's been almost 6 years since the day my world fractured, the day I made the final, irrevocable decision to leave my wife. 6 years can feel like a lifetime in a single, searing moment all at once. The memories of who I was before that day are becoming harder to grasp, like trying to remember the details of a beautiful dream moments after waking. I remember being the kind of guy who loved being in a relationship, who thrived on the profound connection and effortless intimacy it provided. My feelings for my wife and for the girlfriends I had before her were immense, powerful, and all-consuming. Now, in any relationship I attempt, it's a monumental struggle to feel anything at all. I wasn't always this way, I have to believe that. I met her in college, a chance encounter at a coffee shop between classes that felt scripted by fate itself. She had a laugh that could fill a room and a way of looking at me that made me feel like the only person in the universe. We talked for hours that first day, about everything and nothing, books, dreams, our shared anxieties about the future. It was effortless. With her, I felt seen and understood in a way I never had before. Love, for me, was not a slow burn, it was a wildfire, and she was the spark. Our early years together were the kind of idyllic story people write songs about. We were young, broke, and ridiculously happy. We built a life from scratch, furnishing our tiny apartment with second-hand furniture and a wealth of inside jokes. The birth of our daughter was the pinnacle of that joy, a moment of such perfect, overwhelming love that it felt like my heart might actually burst. I remember holding that tiny, fragile being in my arms and looking at my wife over her head, her face tear-streaked and luminous. In that moment, we were an unbreakable unit, a perfect trinity. I would have sworn on my life that nothing could ever touch us. The end of that world didn't come with a thunderous crash, but with a quiet, sickening click in my own mind, the sound of a final gear locking into a place of no return. It started on a drive home from work, on a day that was, until that moment, one of the best I'd had in a very long time. My career as a teacher, a lifelong dream, was just beginning to take flight. For the first time in years, I was filled with a sense of purpose and genuine excitement that had been missing from my life. I was coming from a professional development day, my mind buzzing with new ideas and strategies, feeling energized and profoundly optimistic about the future. I can still picture the scene with perfect clarity. I was standing in the school parking lot with my new colleagues, a group of bright-eyed, passionate educators like myself. The afternoon sun was warm, and the air was filled with the sounds of a school day ending. I was excitedly telling them about my plans for the evening, my voice full of a cheerfulness that was entirely genuine. It was the weekend of our anniversary, and I had managed to get reservations at a top of the Line restaurant downtown, a place we had talked about going to for years. It felt like a significant gesture, a fresh start, a definitive turn back toward the light after a very dark and uncertain period. Just 2 years prior, I had discovered my wife's infidelity for the first time. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday night. She was in the shower, and her phone, which she'd left on the nightstand, buzzed with a message. I glanced over without thinking, and the preview on the lock screen was enough to stop my heart. A man's name, followed by words that were intimate and unmistakable. The discovery had nearly shattered me, ripping a hole through the fabric of my reality. But I was a firm believer in the sanctity of marriage, in the vows we had taken. I believed in working through problems, no matter how excruciating, and I had thrown every ounce of my being into the task of mending what she had broken. On that drive home, I truly naively believed our efforts had paid off. The sun was casting long shadows across the highway. My favorite song was playing softly on the radio, and I felt a profound sense of peace settle over me. We had been through the fire, And I thought we had come out the other side, stronger and more committed than ever. My marriage, it seemed with a certainty that now feels utterly pathetic, was finally and firmly back on track. Everything changed in an instant. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, the mundane sound cutting through my peaceful reverie. A notification lit up the screen, a small ghost icon against a yellow background. It was a Snapchat from my wife. I smiled a real and forced smile, and picked up the phone at the next red light. I opened the app to see a sexy picture of her, a suggestive pose in the bathroom mirror with a playful, inviting look in her eyes. My heart gave a happy, hopeful little jump. The good day was clearly going to get even better. I found myself excitedly anticipating what was waiting for me at home. The picture stoking the embers of a passion I thought had almost been extinguished by years of struggle. I kept the picture pulled up on my screen for a couple of minutes, a foolish, boyish grin on my face as I drove. It felt like a testament to our recovery, a spontaneous, intimate sign that the spark was truly returning. But as the traffic started to move again, a cold, clinical detail snagged my attention, a tiny discrepancy in the upper corner of the screen. The image wasn't taken with the Snapchat camera. It wasn't alive. In the moment snap, it was uploaded from her phone's gallery. The realization dawned on me slowly at first, a creeping, insidious unease that began in the pit of my stomach and spread like ice through my veins. My brain tried to fight it, to find a logical explanation. Maybe she took a few and wanted to send the best one. Maybe the lighting was better with her regular camera app. But I knew. Deep down, in the part of me that had been wounded 2 years ago, the part that had been sleeping but never truly healed, I knew. In that single horrifying moment of clarity, my mood plummeted from ecstatic to a state of absolute, soul-crushing dread. My mind, which had been so full of happy plans just moments before, could now only focus on one terrible, obvious conclusion. There was only one reason she would upload a pre-existing sexy picture to Snapchat instead of just taking one in the app. She hadn't taken it for me. She had sent this exact picture to someone else, and I was just an afterthought, a convenient cover, a recipient on a list. The rest of the drive is a blur of suffocating panic and roaring adrenaline. The world outside my car seemed to fade into a meaningless smear of color and light as a storm of betrayal raged within me. I raced home, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles were bone white. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. When I burst through the front door, the house was quiet except for the rhythmic sound of the shower running from the master bathroom. I walked towards the sound, each step feeling heavy and deliberate, like I was a condemned man walking to his own execution. Her phone was lying on the bathroom counter, a sleek black rectangle of doom against the white marble. The steam from the shower hung thick in the air, but to me, everything felt chillingly, starkly clear. I picked it up, my hands surprisingly steady, my body operating on some cold, distant autopilot. As the screen lit up, I saw exactly what I knew in my soul I would see. There was a new Snapchat notification, a reply that had just come in. It was from a man named Joe. My blood ran cold, and the last vestiges of my hope turned to ash. From behind the shower curtain, my wife's voice, muffled by the pounding water, turned instantly angry and sharp. She was yelling at me, not asking, but demanding that I put her phone down immediately. The pure, unadulterated defensive fury in her tone was all the confirmation I ever needed. But I had to see it through to the bitter end. I told her to open the notification, my own voice eerily calm, detached from the maelstrom inside me. I told her that if it was nothing, as she was now frantically insisting, then she had absolutely nothing to hide. Knowing she was trapped, that there was no lie, no excuse, no manipulation that could save her this time, she finally complied. She shut off the water, and the sudden silence in the room was deafening. She stepped out of the shower, wrapping a towel around herself, her face a mask of cold resentment. She snatched the phone from my hand and, with a defiant glare, opened the app. And there was plain as day for both of us to see. The message from Joe was a short, crude line praising her body, an unambiguous response to the very same picture she had sent to me. The picture that was supposed to be a symbol of our reconciliation, our fresh start. In that steam-filled bathroom, my marriage was over. It wasn't a decision made with anger or sadness, not at first. It was simply the quiet, final acceptance of an undeniable fact. The entire structure of our life together had collapsed, the foundation had turned to sand and washed away. I finally understood, with a clarity that was both devastating and liberating, that it should have been over 2 years before, when I had first discovered her cheating. But I had been so desperate, so thoroughly indoctrinated with the belief that marriage was a fight you always had to win, that I had refused to see the truth that was right in front of me. Worse than my own naivety was the memory of how she had so expertly manipulated me back then. She had gaslit me with the skill of a master illusionist. She cried, she raged, she turned my own words and insecurities against me until the world felt upside down. The betrayed party, I had ended up writing her a pathetic, tear-stained apology letter. In it, I apologized for not measuring up as a husband, for being distant, for working too much, for somehow driving her into the arms of another man. I willingly took the blame for her actions because it was less painful than accepting the reality that the woman I loved was capable of such profound deception and cruelty. Her apologies, both after the first time I caught her and during that final, silent confrontation in the bathroom, were never true apologies. They were weapons disguised as olive branches. Each one began with the hollow, meaningless words, "I'm sorry," but was immediately followed by the word, "but," a word that negated everything that came before it. "I'm sorry, but you were working so much." "I'm sorry, but we were growing apart." "I'm sorry, but you weren't paying enough attention to me." Every excuse was a blade, twisting the knife of her betrayal a little deeper by placing the blame, and therefore the responsibility to fix it, squarely and unjustly, on my shoulders. The one excuse she used most often, the one that still makes me sick to my stomach when I recall it, was the cruelest and most insidious of all. "I'm sorry," she would say, her voice tinged with a false, long-suffering martyrdom, "but you were having seizures and I just got so tired of taking care of you. For context, I have epilepsy, but it's well managed with medication. I have maybe 2 or 3 seizures a year, brief episodes that leave me tired but are hardly a constant, daily burden on anyone. To have my medical condition, my deepest vulnerability, used as a weapon to justify her infidelity, was a level of cruelty I still cannot fully comprehend. It reframed her betrayal not as a choice she made, but as a consequence of my own brokenness. I write all of this now because, in the 6 years since that moment, I feel like I've completely and utterly lost myself. The man who had big feelings, the man who loved with his whole heart and believed in second chances, is gone. In his place is this man, a man who finds it difficult to feel much of anything at all. The vibrant, rich colors of my emotional world have faded to muted, indistinguishable shades of gray. I am a stranger to myself, a ghost rattling around in his own life, and I don't know how to become solid again. I've tried to fix this, I truly have. I've had 2 different therapists since the divorce, sitting in sterile offices on comfortable couches, recounting my story until the words lost all meaning. The sessions were nice, in a way. It felt good to unload the weight of it all, to have a neutral party listen without judgment. But beyond that temporary relief of venting, therapy did nothing to fundamentally improve me. The numbness remained, a persistent, chilling fog that no amount of talking or cognitive reframing could seem to penetrate. I'm also on antidepressants, which I know can cause a degree of emotional blunting. But I've dealt with recurring depression for nearly 20 years, long before all of this happened. Even in my darkest depressive episodes in the past, when getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain, I never felt this profound emptiness. I felt sadness, grief, anguish, and despair, but I still felt. This is different. This is a void, a complete and total absence of the deep emotional currents that once defined the very core of my being. Since the divorce, I've attempted to move on, to re-enter the world of dating. I've had 3 girlfriends, 3 valiant attempts to find that old part of myself again. The first 2 relationships were brief, fleeting experiments, each ending after about a month. I was the one who ended them, not because of any fault of the women I was with, but because I simply couldn't connect. It felt like I was going through the motions, playing the part of a boyfriend in a play, saying the right lines and making the right gestures, but without any of the genuine feelings to back it up. It was exhausting and deeply unfair to them. My last relationship was the most serious and the most heartbreaking. Her name was Clara, and we were together for almost a year. I only ended it about a month ago. She was, by all objective and subjective accounts, an absolutely amazing person. She was kind, intelligent, patient, and had a sense of humor that could make me laugh on my worst days. She was everything a man could ever want or hope for in a partner. Yet, despite all her wonderful qualities, despite how much I wanted to, I could never summon the feelings for her that she so clearly and richly deserved. We had moments that should have been cinematic in their emotional intensity. A weekend trip to the coast where we watched the sunset, a quiet night by the fire, a moment she comforted me after a particularly tough day at work. I saw the love in her eyes, and all I could offer back was a pale, hollow reflection of it. I enjoyed her company, I cared for her well-being, but the profound, soul, deep connection of being, love, remained completely out of reach. Ending things with her was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I had to sit across from this incredible woman and explain that the problem wasn't her, it was me. That I was broken in a way I didn't know how to fix, and that she deserved someone who could love her fully, a task I was no longer capable of. The pain in her eyes was a direct result of my damage, and that is a heavy burden to carry. Interestingly, I never had trust issues in these new relationships. The trauma of my ex-wife's infidelity didn't manifest as paranoia or the need to check phones. Perhaps it's because without those deep feelings of love, without that profound emotional investment, the idea of being cheated on again just didn't carry the same catastrophic weight. Infidelity was simply not a concern because my heart wasn't truly on the line. I was a spectator in my own love life, not a participant. The real tragedy, the one I live with every day, is that I feel like I can never experience those feelings of being in love in a relationship anymore. That intoxicating, terrifying, wonderful mix of joy, vulnerability, and deep connection seems like a foreign language I've completely forgotten how to speak. It's as if that part of my emotional hardware was permanently fried on the day I saw that Snapchat from my wife's gallery. Now, every single day, I just feel like I'm on autopilot. I wake up, I make coffee, I go to work and try to inspire my students. I pick up my daughter, I make dinner, I go to sleep. It is a life of routines and responsibilities, utterly devoid of any emotional highs or lows. Is this a normal reaction to such a profound betrayal? I feel a deep, knowing sense of shame and inadequacy when I think about it. I know that so many other people deal with this same kind of situation, or even far worse, and they are able to find love again. They are able to heal and risk opening their hearts to new people. I don't really know what is wrong with me, or how to even begin to fix this fundamental brokenness that has taken root inside of me. I do know, with absolute and unshakable certainty, that this isn't because I still have feelings for my ex-wife. There was a time in the immediate aftermath when I hated her with a passion that consumed my every waking thought. But now, even that intense hatred has faded into the same gray void as everything else. Feelings for her, good or bad, simply aren't there anymore. She is a non-entity in my emotional landscape, a ghost from that other movie. She is married to Joe now, the man from the Snapchat. Initially, the news of their marriage bothered me, a final, absurd twist of the knife. But that feeling passed quickly like most feelings do now. From all accounts I've heard, he is a good and stable presence in our 9-year-old daughter's life, and at the end of the day, her happiness and well-being are all that truly matter to me. My ex is living her new life, and I am supposed to be living mine. So honestly, I just don't know how to get back to being me. The man I was is a distant memory, a stranger I no longer recognize. The man I am now feels incomplete, like a poorly rendered sketch of a human being. I exist, I function, I breathe, but I don't feel like I'm truly living. I am surrounded by good people, yet I feel profoundly alone in this barren emotional desert I call my life. The biggest question that haunts my quiet moments, the one that echoes in the silence after my daughter is asleep, is a simple one. Is there any light at the end of this long, dark tunnel? Or is this numbness, this endless gray, all that's left for me?